Coming up on AEA Amplified, Garmin introduced PlaneSync at the AEA convention, and Director of Aviation Aftermarket Sales Jim Alpizer is here with all the details.
From the Aircraft Electronics Association, this is AEA Amplified, a podcast for aviation's technology experts, with your host, Jeff Hill.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of AEA Amplified, sponsored by Genesis Aerosystems, a mode company providing full cockpit upgrade solutions of customizable EFIS displays, UHF and VHF aircraft radios, and autopilots, plus much more for retrofit and OEM factory fit aircraft. To learn more about the upgrade solutions, visit genesis-aerosystems.com. Hi again, everyone. I'm your host, Jeff Hill, for this May 11th, 2023 edition of AEA Amplified. And today we break down one of the exciting new products introduced at the AEA convention as part of the new product introduction session. A total of 33 companies participated in that session that took place back on April the 24th in Orlando, Florida. And Garmin was one of those leading innovators and used the AEA convention to unveil what it calls PlaneSync. So I am pleased to welcome our guest who made that announcement to avionics dealers on stage in Orlando, and we are joined by Jim Alpizer. He's the Director of Aviation Aftermarket Sales for Garmin. So Jim, welcome to Amplified, and let's begin with the big picture first, where before we dive into some of the details of all the features of your new product that I know we want to hear about, but just tell us a little bit about PlaneSync in general and why Garmin developed this new technology to help aircraft owners and operators.
Well, thank you, Jeff. I appreciate giving the opportunity to talk a little bit more about PlaneSync and all the exciting innovation Garmin has been able to bring to market more recently. PlaneSync, kind of in a nutshell, is really designed to kind of help save time and add simplicity to the flying experience. That's kind of at the core of what PlaneSync is really about bringing kind of a new level of connectivity and convenience to aircraft owners and operators. There's a lot that goes on into aircraft ownership that can be time consuming and even daunting at times for some folks. And PlaneSync is really intended to eliminate a lot of those tasks, allowing the pilot and the aircraft operator to spend more time on more important tasks or just getting themselves ready for flight.
And I know there's a multitude of features, so let's maybe start with the connected aircraft management. What does that mean exactly?
Yeah, well, connected aircraft management, it really is about kind of connecting you to your aircraft when you're actually away from the aircraft. And so what we do here is we leverage kind of a multitude of different wireless connections, principally leveraging 4G LTE cellular connections, but also have Wi-Fi capability built inside of this new product, the GDL60 data link. And that basically enables this PlaneSync technology to start providing that connection to you and your aircraft, ultimately when you're away from the aircraft, but also, again, streamlining tasks as you're wrapping up flights and kind of helping you get ready for the next flight. And so you can do a lot of really sophisticated things like check the aircraft time, get fuel indications, and really help out with database updates as well, and kind of that full spectrum of aircraft management.
And you mentioned the database updates, which I believe are automatic. So exactly how does that work?
Well, this is honestly, we've been working long and hard to really help improve the kind of the database update process really across the board. And so Garmin's made a number of enhancements on the database management side of thing, even beyond the PlaneSync capability. But when somebody buys a GDL60 and enables this PlaneSync technology, it really ultimately provides the best possible circumstance and scenario. So again, kind of leveraging an LTE subscription or wireless capability, we're basically able to take that legwork out of doing database updates. So basically, no longer needing to sneakernet data cards, SD data cards, or other data cards in and out of the aircraft in order to do your database updates, and having to take those to your computer to do updates. All that is now going to be completely automated. The GDL60 is going to ultimately wake itself up and grab those databases from our servers automatically and download those onto the GDL60, and basically have them kind of at the aircraft's fingertips. So the next time the avionics master gets switched on, those databases will quickly load into all the appropriate displays and have your aircraft completely up to date with navigation data, obstacles, terrain, charts, everything kind of from head to tail, database wise, is then kind of completely automated, and all the manual effort is taken out of it. So again, that saves the the pilot or the aircraft operator a tremendous amount of time and effort just on their side, having to remember and manage those things, not having to make special trips to the airport and such forth.
And definitely going to save pilots a lot of time. But in terms of the pilots, how exactly can they view the current status of their aircraft and do that remotely?
Sure. So aircraft status updates are another really key and important element of the PlaneSync technology. And so this does require an LTE subscription. And ultimately what happens using your Garmin pilot application, or even a Garmin D2 Mach 1 smartwatch, the aircraft owner can actually wake up the aircraft and find exactly the state of the aircraft at that particular moment. So it's really kind of clever and again, time-saving capability to ultimately figure out, okay, maybe I'm at the hotel and I'm getting ready to leave for the airport, but I don't know if the FBO fueled the airplane. So I can, on my watch, I can ping the aircraft and see exactly how much fuel is on board the aircraft. It actually takes about a minute or so for the system to wake itself up and retrieve that information. But I can then view that quickly and simply and easily right from my watch, or if I am using the Garmin pilot application as part of my pre-flight activities, more comprehensive information shows on the application as well. So again, it's really about kind of saving time and effort in managing and getting ready for flights. And that aircraft status updates covers a comprehensive list of information from the aircraft, including HOBs, tachometer, flight times, fuel quantity, battery voltage, outside air temperature, oil temperature, and even the GPS location of where the aircraft is positioned. So you might even be able to tell whether they have the aircraft hangared or not based on the GPS update or lack of a GPS update in some cases. So it's really kind of a great way to see exactly what's happening with your aircraft when you're away from it.
And once again, we are visiting with Jim Alpizer. He's the Director of Aviation Aftermarket Sales for Garmin here on AEA Amplified, sponsored by Genesis Aerosystems, a Moog company. And Jim, I also understand that PlaneSync offers the engine and flight data logging. What can you tell us about that feature?
Yeah, so that's kind of the third pillar to PlaneSync and what it really adds to the kind of the flight experience. And the flight data logging, you can kind of think about that as what happens after you're done flying. And our systems, our newer systems particularly, are collecting a kind of a wide variety of information from your flight and about your flight. And so let's say you're flying along and you hear some kind of a strange change in the engine sound. And so there's a decent likelihood that with a Garmin engine monitoring system that we can kind of see temperature changes or other types of changes in your engine indication system that happen while you're flying. And again, that data historically has been captured on like an SD card, and then you have to kind of sneaker net it around. But with PlaneSync and the GDL60, that whole experience again is completely automated, where as soon as you land, that information starts loading up into the cloud, and you can kind of quickly and easily send that along to a maintenance professional for deeper analysis. So again, it's actually kind of really helpful and clever from a ability to see exactly what's going on with your aircraft. Some of this capability is actually going to ultimately become available in early 2024. So we're actually behind the scenes, we're working on more of a kind of an aircraft logbook, if you will. So everybody knows about pilot logbooks, and we do our best to maintain those. And actually, our capabilities with PlaneSync allow for us to add to your pilot logbook. But in addition to that, we've been building in kind of the back-end systems to ultimately also give you a aircraft-specific log of all your flights and all this information that's collected. And so at any given moment, you can forward, kind of a range of flights to a maintenance professional to kind of look at overall trends in history. And it's providing all the engine data if you're appropriately equipped, as well as your speed and altitude information and other elements about your flight. So look for this kind of aircraft logbook capability to get added in early 2024. And that's really kind of part of the overall flight data logging suite that we've been able to offer.
Jim, let's talk a little bit about mobile device connectivity. Does PlaneSync offer that, and how does that work?
Yeah, so the ability for the GDL60 to serve as a data link is kind of what this is all about. I'll kind of reiterate that this ultimately is intended to connect you while you're away from your aircraft, but there is also capability inside of the GDL60 to help with your in-flight connectivity as well. So transferring flight plans and being able to stream weather and traffic information from your avionics into your mobile device. That's the type of connection that we are able to offer with the GDL60 as well. So many customers and dealers will be familiar with our FlightStream 510 product. This new GDL60 product ultimately kind of takes the place of the FlightStream 510, allowing all that kind of in-flight element that we've been historically able to do. The GDL60 does not offer like in-flight Wi-Fi service, so it's not really a solution for web browsing or email. Now that said, the GDL60 can act as a interface to our GSR56. That's another box that we've had on the market for a while. It's actually a satellite transceiver that allows you to leverage kind of the Iridium network in order to stay connected through voice calls, text messaging, and be able to do a lot of that through the Garmin Pilot application from anywhere in the world.
And Jim, what can you tell us about the compatibility and availability features? And also the big question, of course, is how much does it cost?
Of course. So if you're flying behind a lot of our newer products, you're in great shape. PlaneSync and the GDL60 are compatible with the popular Garmin products such as the GTN XI series navigators. That's the newest generation of GTN products. So it does need to be that newer generation navigator, but it's also compatible with our TXI series flight displays, commonly known as the G500 TXI and G600 TXI, and now the G700 TXI. But it's also compatible with our GI-275 electronic flight instrument. That's a incredibly versatile flight instrument that allows you to get attitude information as well as moving map information, and it can even be an EIS for you. It's got this really great circular design, so it can replace a traditional 3 1/4 inch instrument. And then, of course, PlaneSync and the GDL60 is also compatible with select integrated flight decks. And actually, you may know that Daher with the TBM 960 as well as Piper with the M600 SLS have already announced that the GDL60 is equippage for their aircraft, and we expect more to get added in the future. So PlaneSync technology is actually starting to become available as a retrofit. However, it's going to be available in the third quarter of 2023. For a list price starting at $39.95, and of course that'll be available through the Garmin authorized dealer network.
And Jim, you talked a little bit about service plans, and are your customers required to subscribe to a service plan from Garmin to use PlaneSync?
Yeah, so there is subscriptions that are leveraged as part of PlaneSync. There is LTE and Wi-Fi capabilities and features that, again, offer the automatic database updates, the remote aircraft status, engine logging, that transfers automatically. So in order to support that, we actually have multiple service plans available, and you can access this LTE service from any country for $45 a month. If you're operating only in North America, the subscription plan is $30 a month. And then if you decide that you may not worry as much about the live aircraft status updates, we actually have the Wi-Fi only package for $10 a month, and that's going to largely get you the database transfer capability automatically. That obviously presumes that you've got Wi-Fi where you keep the aircraft hangared, so that's when you would likely use that. But otherwise, either the North America plan or kind of the any country plan is available for $30 or $45 a month.
Jim, you mentioned the FlightStream 510 a few minutes ago, and in terms of some of the details that you want your avionics dealers, the shops to know, let me ask: is the FlightStream 510 still required in installations with PlaneSync?
Yeah, great question. Actually, the GDL60 is a kind of a wholesale replacement for the FlightStream 510. So really, any capability you had previously received from the FlightStream 510 is now going to be built inside of the GDL60, and that is going to offer the same compatibility customers been used to with Garmin Pilot for flight plan transferring and other data sharing between Garmin Pilot or even ForeFlight for that matter.
And a good question, I think, that the shops will want to know, how does a dealer know if their customers, the aircraft owners, the operators, how do they know that they will have LTE coverage at their home airport?
Great question, and a very popular question, I might add as well. So we actually have a coverage map right on our website. So just by visiting garmin.com/planesync, you get a lot of additional information about the entire product and what it can do. But down kind of further towards the bottom of that particular page, there's information about the service plans and then additional links for all the coverage as well. So garmin.com/planesync is a great way to access all the information for the product.
And Jim, one final question before we let you go, and I know our shops will be certainly interested in this one. I understand that there are 2 antenna options. What can you say about that?
Great question again. So ultimately, we've got the GDL60 is kind of the standard configuration is what we call an internal antenna. It's a GA60 antenna. That's going to be sufficient for a lot of installations, helps keep the installation cost down a little bit lower. And however, there's going to be some types of aircraft or some areas where you just know you want the best possible connection. And so with that, we also offer a externally mounted aircraft antenna called the GA61A. And again, that's going to help ensure that you get the best possible signal strength. So if you had signal concerns based on kind of where you're at and what you're seeing on the coverage map, you might want to consider the GA61. However, the GA60 antenna is intended to be kind of a little bit of a lower cost solution that oftentimes will get mounted below a glare shield and work well for folks. Pricing again starts at $39.95 for the GDL60. That price includes the internal antenna. If you did opt for the GA61 externally aircraft mounted antenna, then your price is going to be closer to $54.95, of course, plus installation costs.
Jim Alpizer, certainly no stranger to the AEA membership. Thank you so much for joining us here today on AEA Amplified. And of course, you can learn more about PlaneSync and all the great aviation products that Garmin has to offer on its website at garmin.com. And just a heads up, we will also have more coverage of PlaneSync in upcoming editions of Avionics News Magazine. So look for that story, as well as coverage for all of the new products introduced at the AEA convention in the weeks ahead. And before we sign off, let me also remind our listeners that the avionics training schedule is heating up in the AEA's classroom in Lee Summit, Missouri. There are several in-person and virtual classes planned for the spring and summer months, and you can learn more about each of them and reserve your seat by visiting aea.net/training. Classes do sell out, so be sure to reserve your seat today. Again, that's aea.net/training. And don't forget the industry's top resource to address workforce development was recently launched at aerocareers.net. It is built by industry professionals and powered by the AEA. It's a website that offers a spotlight on career paths in aviation. It includes links to jobs, scholarships, aviation schools, veterans resources, and so much more. You can check it out and encourage anyone you meet who might have an interest in aviation to visit aerocareers.net. And along those lines, if your company is hiring, please remember to post your career opportunities on the AEA jobs board. That's a free member benefit at aea.net/jobs. jobs. And that's going to wrap it up for today. We hope you can join us again soon for another episode of AEA Amplified, sponsored by Genesis Aerosystems, a Moog company. To learn more about Genesis and its full range of upgrade solutions, visit genesis-aerosystems.com. Thanks again to Garmin Director of Aviation Aftermarket Sales, Jim Alpizer, for being our guest today. And until next time here on AEA Amplified, for our producer engineer, Aaron Ward, this is your host, Jeff Hill, wishing you blue skies ahead. So long, everybody.